So if you're a Broncos fan like I am, you were probably going into week 15 with sort of skewed expectations. No one really knew what to expect going into week 15. The past couple weeks, we've kind of seen the top teams start to struggle. A lot of the status quos were being broken. A lot of things were changing. A lot of the great teams were losing. The Eagles, Chiefs were struggling there for a little bit. 49ers were still doing great. The Ravens and the Dolphins were having unexpected losses against teams that they really should have beaten just because they weren't playing well. And, Lions have been having trouble. So a lot of the expectations going into this week were kind of all over the place because a lot of the status quos had been broken. And considering the Broncos have stepped up lately, before this game, he obviously had that win streak broken by the Texans eventually and then went back to the wins. I think a lot of the Broncos fans were kind of hopeful going into this game against the Lions because Lions on the downswing, Broncos on the up and up. It was kind of the reverse of what we thought this game was going to be, a couple months back. So our chances honestly kind of looked 50-50. Unfortunately, as everyone saw, that was not the case. That's not what ended up happening. It did not live up to expectations. I think probably, aside from the Dolphins, probably the most disappointing game this entire season. I don't know what happened. There was no defense. There was no offense. I don't know what happened in the coaching. Sean Payton, from him freaking out on Russ to just not getting the team together the whole game and just nothing working out. It kind of seems like Sean Payton was just having a really, really bad week. The energy, honestly, with the whole team felt off. Something felt super, super wrong, and it just wasn't. It was all over the place. It was literally the worst case scenario, as was the rest of this week, because not only did we really want to win this game, we also wanted a lot of the teams in the AFC to lose, and almost all of the teams that we needed to lose and all the teams that we needed to win did not. This week literally was the worst case scenario ever, and I kind of want to break down why. I did map it out before these games were starting to be played, and I just kind of want to talk about how none of these things happened. So going into this week, obviously Chargers versus Raiders is what it started off with. We wanted the Chargers to win for the most part. It didn't really matter considering the records were the same going into it, but FTR, and the Chargers really weren't a threat, and if they won it, maybe Staley would have stuck around. Unfortunately, that's not what ended up happening. We really wanted the Chargers to win that one because we have another game against them coming up, and Staley's coaching still being around by that time would have been amazing. Best case scenario for us. Now we're kind of going in with uncertain expectations into the next game again. And then obviously we have the Bengals versus the Vikings. Bengals being 7-6 going up against an NFC team. Obviously we wanted that NFC team, the Vikings, to win that. Pushed the Bengals out. That's the opposite of what happened. Now the Bengals are 8-6, and now we have to catch up. And then we had the Steelers versus the Colts. Now this one didn't matter quite as much because both teams 7-6, same record. But considering we wanted the Bengals to lose against the Vikings, it would have been best case scenario if the Steelers beat the Colts, because in that case, going into next week, Bengals would have been 7-7, Colts would have been 7-7, and then Steelers would have been 8-6, and they likely would have lost to the Bengals, which means that all of them would have lost except the Steelers on week 15. Unfortunately, again, opposite of what happened. Colts won and Bengals won as well. So now we have two 8-6 teams while we're behind at 7-7. And then, the Steelers are 7-7 now. We're the only 7-7 teams, I'm pretty sure. And, now we're going into next week. Steelers are going to go up against the Bengals. Steelers probably are not going to win that, so they're going to go 7-8. And then Bengals are going to go 9-6, which is, again, not good. Honestly, this game looked like the Bears were going to win for a good portion of it. Fields and the entire team were playing well the entire time. Browns were doing well too, but it kind of seemed like they were going to fall behind and lose. They just stuck it out at the end. It sucked. The Browns won, so now they're 9-5. Another team that we're going to have to try so hard to catch up and beat. So that's not good. And then the Dolphins versus the Jets. Obviously we wanted the Jets to win that one, but it was never really that likely. Dolphins are the Dolphins. Tyreek Hill and everyone they have over there, just amazing. There's a reason they're one of the best AFC teams. But again, with the expectations of this week being so uncertain, it would have been nice for the Jets to step up. Unfortunately, they lost and now they've been eliminated. Chiefs and Patriots, this one was always a long shot. It seems like the Patriots were in the lead for a good portion of it, but predictably the Chiefs won that one. And that's a good and bad thing because we have to go against the Patriots next week. So we don't want them riding high on a win. And if I'm being honest, if I'm being totally honest, at this point with the way we played against the Lions, which is that we didn't play at all, we did nothing. If I'm being honest, I don't know if we're going to beat the Patriots now. I don't know if that's ridiculous to say, but like the fact that there was no defense, no offense, nothing, I don't know what to expect. So either way, bad. It's exhausting. Texans and Titans, obviously we wanted the Titans to win that considering they were 5-8 going into this game. That is the opposite again of what happened. So now the Texans are 8-6. So like all the people that we were tied with at 7-6 have now moved on to 8-6. It's just not what we wanted. It's so bad. And we're down with the Steelers at 7-7. So we need like everyone to start losing and we need to win the next 3 games or we're out. But I digress. Yeah, we didn't want the Texans to win that one. And then Bills and Cowboys. This again was kind of a long shot, but considering the Cowboys were kind of a top team in the NFC and they were kind of in that debate with the 49ers and the Eagles and the Lions, I was hoping that they would pull through. They were behind. They were getting their asses kicked the entire game. It was very frustrating to watch. It was honestly kind of reminding me of Broncos v Lions because they were just so behind the whole time and they just had no chance. We did not want the Bills to move on, and that's exactly what they've done now, which is horrible because they're kind of one of those teams that have real potential. So they're kind of one of the teams that we wanted to keep out the most because in the playoffs, even if we do make it, they're going to be a real problem. So we need to beat them out. And then last but not least, we had the Ravens versus the Jaguars. This is one that actually worked out for us. Ravens are obviously at the top. They're number 1 in the AFC. They won that game. They clinched, which is really good. It doesn't really help us that much because the Jaguars are still 8-6, so they're still ahead of us with everyone else, the Bengals and the Colts and the Texans and all the people that we needed to pass this week. So even the one that worked out, it really doesn't help us that much, and it's just, oh god, it's such a mess. And just to top it all off, we had that loss against the Lions, which was so just embarrassing, and I don't blame the Lions. I absolutely blame Sean Payton. I don't know what he was doing that entire game. I don't know why he was yelling at Russ. He won't talk about it. It was always my prediction that we were going to finish out the season 9-8, you know, still on a good note because it's a positive record and a great, you know, sign compared to where we started off. And, you know, honestly, with this team, even if we make it to the playoffs, it's going to be one of those things where we make it and then we ride that high into the first game and then we get immediately kicked out because we're just not where we need to be. So I think the goal for now is just to fix things in the offseason, finish out the rest of the season good, win out all the games if we can. It's kind of been my prediction as well that we're going to surprisingly lose to the Chargers. I'm not sure how real that is, but the fact that they blew it this week and Staley's gone, that feeling in my gut that they were going to beat us in our next game, that kind of gives it, you know, some more grounds, so that's not good. I don't know. We need to finish out this season the best we can so we can go into the next season strong. This week was just not it. If we can win out the rest of the weeks of the regular season, that's going to be good. But if not, then we're screwed. The Jets, Patriots, and Titans have all been eliminated. So we are at the bottom of the ladder with the Steelers. And I think the Chargers and the Raiders are still under us. It's just, I hope we fix things. You know, I hope we get these wins. I hope we make it to the playoffs. It would be cool. I'm still kind of sticking with the 9-8 thing. I just hope next season we start better and end better. Let me know what you think down below. And yeah, I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.